Today's class is core stability. So those of you who've practiced with me for a while will remember that I am a big advocate for the core and reminding people that core is not just these abdominal muscles that we tend to think about, those pretty ones that we focus on in summertime when we're trying to get into our summer clothes. But I want you to think about it as being front body, side body, and the back of the spine, okay, right the way from the back of the skull down to the tailbone area. And we're going to be working our way around this torso or the circumference that is the core and working those muscles, okay? We'll be releasing them a little bit at some time to balance it out as well. But I want us to just recognize and feel the muscles that work all the way down towards the pubis area here. And I want us to feel the TVA that is kind of like a corset all the way around us, okay? Sometimes when you're running or cycling, you're going to feel that if you touch your belly. We're going to work the side stomach muscles, the obliques, so you'll feel those hugging everything in. And then the muscles that run along the back of the spine are supporting the spine. So there's a muscle that runs in between every single little vertebrae there to support it. So anytime we're in Warrior 3 and things like this, these muscles should be firing up for us. And we want them to be firing up for us in day-to-day life. So even sitting how we are right now, we want, in theory, to be using these muscles just lightly. And then that said, we don't want to always be engaging the core, okay? There's more and more research now that a lot of us are spending so much of our day in panic mode or busy mode, and actually these core muscles are permanently on. So I don't want you to think that you've always got to be engaging the core. So you'll hear me reference when you might feel things, when to actively engage, and I just want you to work your way through with your awareness where you're feeling it and when. And then I also want you to notice, aside from the very specific core things that we're going to do today, when you're using these muscles in some of our everyday yoga shapes, okay? And then also that will help you to think about how and when you're using them off the yoga mat as well, because we're using them all the time, okay? So less talking, more doing. So let's just take a nice comfortable seat. Sit up nice and tall. Ribs draw in towards each other, so lower belly fires up, but just soften that once it's fired. Palms are going to face downward. Collarbone nice and broad, and the crown of the head is lifting up, so it's almost like you're elongating or lengthening through the spine. And from there, close your eyes. And as you close your eyes, can you almost imagine that I'm placing my finger on your forehead and just gently pushing your forehead back just a few millimeters. So it almost feels like your chin is lightly tucking towards your chest, almost like you're holding an orange or an apple between your chin and your throat. And then relax the tongue away from the roof of the mouth. Close the eyes if you didn't already. And already we've got a lot of these muscles gently working to stabilize this nice upright seat that we're in. Soften the space in between the eyebrows, around the outside edges of the eyes. And just have a little smile come onto the lips. Notice how that softens any tension anywhere around the jaw, the neck, the shoulders, around the outside edges of the eyes, even relaxing. And just take a moment to arrive into your body. How does it feel today? How is your mood? How awake are you? How alert are you? How tired are you? How busy are you in your mind, or able to really be present? And there's no judgments, there's just a sitting still for long enough to notice this. And I listened to this really interesting podcast earlier today about trying to carve out 5 or 10 minutes of every single day to just switch off the outside noise, so that we can really tune in and notice what's happening on the inside. And I really like this idea of sitting still, committing every day to 5 to 10 minutes and just noticing. And while we don't have 5 or 10 minutes to do that right now, but I want you to have that thought in your mind for later. And as we have a few minutes here, just notice how you feel. And as you notice how you feel, start to bring your awareness to your breath. See how it feels to breathe in and out through the nose. For some of you, that's going to feel really natural. For some of you, that might be a little more of a challenge, but just go ahead and see how it feels. It's thought that when we can guide our breath to travel through the nose, when we're awake, when we're exercising, when we're sleeping, we're actually training the breathing muscles, the diaphragm, and a few other things inside to function more efficiently, which is helping so many of our internal systems. So notice how that feels for you, if it's easy or a little clunky. Notice the gentle rising and falling of the heart space, the chest. Almost imagining that you're growing taller as you inhale. And if that's the case, can you hold that height as you exhale? So it's not like you're growing taller and then shorter. You're just finding more length each time that you breathe in and then holding it as you breathe out. Notice how the breath just naturally slows down a tiny, tiny bit by noticing it. And now we're going to add a short pranayama, so we're going to use those breathing muscles now. So I want you to place one of your hands onto your belly button area. And I want you to just notice as we breathe in a moment, the belly moving beneath your hand. And if it doesn't, no problem, but just notice that. And then in future practices of breathing, do the same thing again, notice it. And now as you inhale, we're going to count to 4, your count of 4. Hopefully the belly beneath the hand starts to awaken. And when you finish the inhale, I want you to pause for the count of 4. Relaxed around the jaw, the tongue, the neck. And as you exhale, then you'll count to 4, your count. And you'll notice the belly beneath the hand start to engage and draw back towards the center of your spine. And when you finish the exhale, pause for the count of 4 again. So it's a square shape that we're creating in our mind with the breath. And at the end of the pause, you'll begin again, 4 count inhale. Using the belly as information beneath your hand, pausing for 4 between the inhale and exhale. Exhale for 4. Belly moves away from the hand towards the center of our body. We paused for 4. Belly stays strong, softly strong. And then we begin the inhale again. So see if you can continue that rhythm. And if you already notice the hand moving with the belly moving, you can either keep it there or rest it back onto your lap. And if you didn't feel it yet, keep the hand there. And what this means is when we're moving the belly into the hand, we can be sure that the diaphragm is working, the breathing muscle is working, which means that we're breathing on a deeper level. And we're using these muscles that have such an important impact on other things inside of us, our state of mind being one of them. And you're just going to take 3 more rounds of breath like this. 3 inhales, 3 exhales. And when you finish the 3rd of those rounds of inhales and exhales, come back to a natural breath, no counting, no control. Relax the jaw if you feel like there's any tension there. And then ask yourself that same question that we did at the beginning of the practice. How do I feel? And those of you that notice the hand moving, recognizing that we're breathing with these deeper muscles inside of us. And those of us who didn't notice it, it's going to come with practice. No judgments. And then let's slowly begin to open our eyes. And when our eyes are open, lift the bottom, release the block from underneath, and just take the block to the side, lie yourself down onto your back. And we're going to begin to work. So once you're on your back, come onto the outside edges of your feet. Let the knees draw out to the side of the room. Okay. And I want you to push down through the palms of the hands and the upper back. Okay, the arms are alongside your body, and then push down through the arms, the upper back, the palms of the hands, and the outside of the feet, and just lift the hips up. Okay, so your lower back and hips are away from the ground. And this is just working with our glutes, which helps to stabilize the areas that connect upper and lower body together. And then lower the hips back down to the ground, really slow movements. And we're going to start simple. Push through the feet, through the hands, lift the hips. Strengthening through the outside of the hips, and then lower yourself down. Glute maximus doing a lot of the work for us here. And then push through the feet and hands, lift yourself up nice and slowly. Notice the outer hip working, and then exhale, lower yourself back down. 2 more rounds. Exhale, push into the feet, lifting. And then lower yourself down. Last one, push into the outside of the feet and hands, lifting. Nice, and then lower yourself back down. Bring the soles of the feet to the ground, and then bring your hand onto the lower belly, so beneath the belly button now. And then push the belly button, draw the belly button in towards the spine, and notice the lower back pushing into the ground. Okay, and then go ahead and lift the feet up to bring the shins parallel to the floor. And can you maintain that lower back pushing into the ground? And if you can't, bring your other hand underneath the lower back, and it's just going to give you a reference point. So you're pushing the lower back into the hand. Okay, and you'll feel the muscles beneath your fingers on the belly firing up. Now, as you inhale, I want you to just slowly keep that engagement. Lower the left big toe to tap the floor. Right leg stays as it is. Keep the hand pressing and lower back against the hand. And then bring the left leg back to where it started. And then swap really slowly. Right foot taps the floor. And then right toes come back to center. Keep the pressure in the hand. Left toe taps the floor. And then lifting. Right toe taps the floor. Really slow, subtle movements. It's going to feel like a lot's going on. Foot comes back to center. Left foot working its way down. And then we work our way back up. Right toe tapping. And then lifting back up. 3 more rounds. Left toe tapping. And then lifting back up. Still with that pressure in the hand. Right toe taps. Lifting back up. Left toe taps. Lifting back up. Right toe taps. Lifting back up. Left toe taps. Lifting back up. Right toe taps. Let's add 1 more in just because we're here. Left toe taps, keep the pressure, right toe taps. Nice. And then slowly, when the legs are back to where they were, release the hands, place the feet to the ground. And now same thing again. Draw the belly in towards the spine, push the lower back into the ground, push down through the feet, squeeze the outer buttocks, okay? Push into the palms of the hands, and just really slowly lift yourself up here. So we're not coming into a deep bridge, but we're coming into a glute bridge. And you should feel like the corset, if you take your fingers to the mid-belly area, it's nice and firm. If you take your fingers to the outer hip, it's nice and firm. Hamstrings are working as well. Upper back glues itself to the ground. Keep everything engaged. And then just lower yourself down really slowly to the floor. So we're starting with the deeper transverse abdominis muscles today. We'll get around the body in a moment. Push into the feet, belly strong. Lifting ourselves up nice and slowly. It's almost like there's a block in between the thighs, and then just as slowly as you came up, lower yourself back down. Use your fingers as information to push into the belly if you need to make sure it's still engaged. And then slowly lifting up. And then slowly lowering back down. And this is acting as a corset around the side of the waist and front body. Push into the feet, belly stays strong, glutes are engaged on the outer hips, lifted. And then slowly lowering back down. We've got 2 more. Push through the feet. Lift up through the hips, through the core, nice and strong. Sometimes the slower we go, the simpler the exercise, the deeper the benefit. Lower yourself back down. And I think this is the last one now. So push into the feet, strong through the belly. Lifting, hold it there. Should feel like there's a little bit of something happening. Nice. And then just really slowly lower yourself back down to the ground. All right, now interlace your fingers behind the head. And this is the last one before we start to move a little bit away from the mat. And as you interlace the fingers behind the head, lift the head and upper back from the ground. Okay, and then take the legs up towards the sky. And then can you keep the head in this position, but you're going to release the hands so that they're parallel to the thighs, okay? And if you feel like you can manage it without the hands in a minute, you can even take the arms up to the sky. Okay, so the option is there if you want it. Upper back stays strong, belly's nice and firm, just the same muscles as we were working before. Now point the toes for this one. Left leg reaches away, hovers above the floor. Keep lifting upper back, and then swap the legs over. Your hands can add information. Right leg hovers, and then lift the right leg up, and then lower left leg away. And if this all feels easy, arms up. Swapping, right leg hovers, and then right leg lifts, left leg hovers. Right leg hovers, left leg lifts. Keep the upper back lifted. And then swap. And then swap. And then swap. And then swap. Remember, you can use your fingers for information. Swap. And then swap. And then swap. And then swap. And then speed it up a little bit, but maintain the control. Swap. Swap, 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 swap. One more each side. Swap, swap, and full body stretch. Fingers and toes away from each other. Big stretch of the fingers and toes, stretching out through the front body, and then go ahead and hug the knees into center, take hold of the back of the thighs, and rock and roll back and forth. And know that that rocking and rolling motion is also using the core. Okay, take a breath. And then lift yourself up, cross the ankles, and roll yourself straight over into tabletop. Okay, so shoulders are going to be above the hips. Sorry, they're not. Shoulders are above the wrists, hips are above the knees. That would be fun. And then we're going to take our right leg and reach it to be parallel to the ground. Roll the toes in just a little. Hug the belly into the spine. It should feel natural now because we've done a lot of that work in the opposite direction. And then reach left hand forward. And really reach your way through the fingers. Reach your way through the heel of the foot. Belly engaged. Nice and strong now through the whole of the back line of the body. Okay, take a nice big breath. And then one more. Feel the muscles through the whole of the back line of the spine, the outer hip and leg working. Gaze is just down. One more breath. Okay, and then lower left hand down, lower right knee down, swap. Left leg extends, toes flex. Roll the foot in a little. Roll the thigh in a little. When you're strong, right hand comes forward. If the belly's collapsed, hug it in. Legs as straight as you're able to. Gaze down to the center of your mat between your hands, imagining where the right hand would be. And as you roll that left thigh in, you're working with glute medius and glute maximus to stabilize the hips here. And notice the feeling if you were to touch your hand to the lower belly, it's as tight as it was when we were doing those exercises on the ground. Really simple shapes, yet very, very effective. And then more importantly, the whole of the back of the spine, multifidus and erector spinous working. And then lower the hand down to the ground and lower the knees. And tuck those toes under, downward facing dog. Hands push the ground away. Let's just start to walk the dog here. Notice how it feels through the back of the legs. One heel reaching down, bending the knee, taking our time here. Hands push the ground away, hips lift high. And on your next inhale, rise the right leg up. Three-legged downward dog. And just roll the knee or thigh in a little. Big toe rolls in as well. Hands push the ground away so your hips are in line with each other. You can even take a look underneath. Make sure they are. And it means you might not lift the legs so much, but there's a lot more stability work going on. Take another breath. And then draw the knee into the nose, shoulders above the wrist, really push the ground away. Nice. And then take it back up to three-legged downward dog, flex the foot. Keep that control in the hips here. Exhale, knee to nose. And then take it back up, three-legged downward dog. And then knee across the body, left elbow. So working side stomach muscles here now. And then take it back up to three-legged downward dog. And we're going to do it to the right elbow. And then to the left elbow. and then up towards the knee to the nose. And then step the foot between the hands, lower left knee down, come onto the top of the foot and lift up through the fingers, okay? Lift up through the fingers. Imagine a block in between the hands here. Take a nice big breath. And then just slowly lean forward, grab the block, place it in between the hands, tuck left toes under, lift the knee. So you're up in full crescent. And then as you reach away with left heel, lean forward with the torso, hands firm around that block. So there's one long line from the fingers and the block through to that left heel. Sink deeper into the lunge if you want to get more. And this is just giving us the opportunity to strengthen through the back of the spine. Notice how it feels. Keep pushing away with left heel. We're going to be here for another 3 breaths. Gaze is down rather than forward, so you're maintaining that long line of power. Sometimes moving fast is great for the core, sometimes moving slow or not moving, just as powerful. Nice, and then release the block to the ground. Left hand down, right hand twists, upper body reaches to the right side of the room, right hand to the sky. And then come onto the outside edge of left foot. Can you pick right foot up and stack it on top of left? And if not, lower left knee down so you're in a simpler version. Take a breath. And then option to be here and keep it simple, or option to crunch elbow and knee together. So now working side stomach harder. And then come back to side plank 3 times. Exhale, knee, elbow touch. And then we take it back. And then last one, knee, elbow touch. Okay, and if the elbow and knee are touching, can you now step the right foot forward, still with them touching? And if not, change it so you can. And then push down through that left heel, come back up into crescent. So it's the never-ending side of the body, okay? Reach away through that left heel. Hands are going to come to heart center. Lean forward, weight comes into right foot. Pick up left foot, roll the thigh in as you hinge forward from the hips, and thigh and body come to be parallel to the ground. Now you can add more challenge for the muscles along the back of the spine by looking down and reaching fingers forwards. Or you can keep the hands at heart center. And you'll notice the whole of the back line of the body working here, including the back of that leg. Right leg might start to shake a little, that's okay, take a breath. And then soften right knee, land it back into crescent upright. Hands to the ground, now step back to plank. Chaturanga, all the way down. And take your arms forward. Look to the top of the mat, lift your left leg, lift your right arm. Okay, and then swap. Left arm lifts, right leg lifts. Keep looking down and swap. And swap. And swap. And swap. One more each side. Swap. 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 Hands and feet come to the ground. Hands next to the chest. Tuck the toes, lift up to plank. And from plank, just rock back and forth a little. So your wrists and shoulders are not quite in line anymore, but maintain the strength in the belly and the legs. Working the muscles front, back, and side. Gaze between the hands or to the top of the mat. One more rock. And then back to downward facing dog. And then on your next inhale, lift the left leg. Roll the thigh in just a little, nice and controlled. Hands push the ground away. Exhale, knee to nose. And then take the leg back up, nice and high, but still with that thigh in line. Exhale, knee to nose. Push the ground away, really draw it up high. Shoulder blades separate. Take it back to 3-legged downward dog. Exhale, knee across the body, right elbow. Take it back to 3-legged downward dog. And then knee to left elbow, to right elbow, and then to chest or nose. And then step the foot between the hands. Lower right knee down, come onto the top of the foot, and just lift up through the fingers. Imagine a block in between the hands for the moment. Belly in and away from that front thigh. Notice how it feels through the upper back. And then just slowly lean down, grab that block again. So there's now a literal block between the hands. Tuck the right toes under. And then slowly lifting ourselves up, knee away from the ground. So that's using glute maximus there to help us with that action. Sink into the hips, reach away through the heel. And then slowly look to the top of the mat, lean forward. Adjust your foot position as you need. And the arms are by the ears, kind of. And just notice that opportunity to strengthen through the whole of the back of the upper body. Keep reaching away through right heel so you're really active in that back leg as well. Lean forward more if you want. And that's the beauty of the practice. You take it to where you need. 2 more breaths. Hip muscles working. Full body workout, really. And then look down, lower the block to the side, right hand down, twist to the left, left hand up to the sky. And then slowly we come onto the outside edge of right foot, stacking left foot on top of right foot, or modifying it downward if we need. Option to stay just as you are, or elbow knee crunch. And then step it back to plank, to side plank. And then elbow knee crunch again. And then back to side plank. And then one more, elbow knee crunch. Keep the elbow knee connection if you can. Step left foot forward. Come onto the ball of the right foot. And then inhale up to crescent. Fingers high. Okay. Hands are going to come to heart center, nice and firm against each other, upper back strong. And then lean forward, weight into left foot. Pick up, I'm wobbling as I say it, pick up right leg. Roll the thigh in, reach your way through that back heel, reaching forward through the crown of the head so the gaze stays down. Big breath. Notice how that feels. One more. And then arms forward, soften left knee, land it back into crescent. So we're just subtly working our way around the core in some regular shapes, right? One more breath. And then bring the hands to the ground, step back to plank. Push the ground away with the hands, lift right leg. And then lower it, lift left leg. And then lower it, lift right leg. And then lower, lift left. And then swap one more time each side. Left leg lifts. And then exhale, chaturanga. Your choice of uplift. Stretch out through the front body. Big breath. And then exhale. Downward facing dog. Hips nice and high. Soften the knees, look forward. Hop, step or jump to the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, bend the knees, chair pose. Okay, chair pose is great for so many things. We love chair pose, even if it feels challenging. Deep down inside of us, there's something within us that knows it's good for us. Take a breath. And another. And then lower the bottom slowly to the ground, with or without hands. Come into Nabasana. Okay? Collarbone broad, lower back strong here. Fingers towards the toes. Feel free to straighten the legs if that's in your practice. Strong upper back, straight lines. Take another big breath. Lower left foot, straighten right leg, and just lower yourself down onto the ground. Palms next to the body on the ground. Push down through left foot. Belly strong, lift right leg up, single glute bridge. Lower and hover above the floor, and then lift up. Lower and hover above the floor, and then lift up. 3 more. Lower and hover, and then lift. So you're pushing through the feet, and then lift. And lower, and lift. 1 more. Lower, and lift. And then lower, arms up towards the foot, lift yourself up. Take left hand to the outside of right leg. Doesn't matter where you get. Sit tall, inhale, twist, right arm back. Okay, option to stay here or lean back onto the sitting bones, lift left leg up, straighten it in line, roughly with right leg. So you're twisting, obliques working, deeper core working, spine working. So as, take a breath. 1 more. And then lower left foot, lower right foot, face forward, left leg straightens, and we lower ourselves down, second side. Palms of the hands to the ground, push into the foot, lift up. Left leg facing up. Exhale, hover above the floor, Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower, hover. Inhale, lift. 2 more. Exhale, lower and hover. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower and hover. Inhale, lift. Last one. Exhale, lower and hover. And lift. And then lower down. Arms up towards the foot. Lift yourself up with control. Take right hand to outside of left leg. As you inhale, spine long. As you exhale, twist. Left arm back. Lean back into sitting bones. Straighten out right leg. So right leg's working on its own there, but it's not really. It just feels like it. Keep twisting. Keep trying to maintain that leg. You see one side is harder for me than the other. Keep breathing. Keep smiling. Notice where your strengths are. Notice where it's more challenging. Last breath. And then lower the feet down nice and slowly. Grab your block. Lie yourself down nice and simple. Place the block underneath your hips. Straighten those legs out. And then reach the fingers all the way up overhead. 5 breaths here. Creating a little space through the front of the core. And just notice how that feels to release. Breathing slowly. Notice if you feel warmer, where things feel good, where things feel like they could still do more. Just a short session together today. But notice where we use these simple actions all the way through the practice. So the whole class, in theory, when we're paying attention, is using the core. Knowing when to fire up, when to relax. Last big breath here. And then bend the knees, feet to the ground, arms back alongside the body. Lift the hips, release the block. And then left leg, keep the legs where they are. Pick the feet up. Last little workout here. And take the arms to wherever you like. I quite like to interlace the fingers behind my head here and push my head into my hands. Imagine a block in between the thighs. Try and keep the upper body connected to the ground. And as you exhale, draw the knees over to the right, only as far as you can where the upper back stays on the floor, so a pendulum movement. And then carry the legs back through center and let the legs slowly with control go over to the left, but only so far upper back stays relaxed to the ground. And then come back through center with control going over to the right. Notice if there's a bit more space now. Come back through center over to the left. Right shoulder stays connected. Notice how those muscles intuitively start to fire up so you get more of a twist. Come back through center over to the right. So you should be closer to the ground perhaps each time. Come back through to center, over to the left. Keep the upper back on the floor. Come back to center really slowly, over to the right. And then let the knees come down to the ground. And take the arms out into a T shape. Right hand can hold the thigh if you want to. Gaze wherever feels good for your neck. 2 breaths only, just a short hold. And when the second breath is finished, take the hands back behind your head. Push the hands into the head or head into hands. Engage the belly, carry those legs back through center. And then slowly over to the left, really slow. And then let the legs come down to the ground. And at that point, take the arms back into a T shape. 2 breaths in this direction. And then slowly, with control, hands wherever you can, so that you're still in control, carry the legs back through to center. Straighten out the legs, flex the feet, hands behind the head still, and then lower left leg to hover above the floor. And then lower right leg to hover above the floor. And then lower them down to the ground. And bring the arms out to Shavasana. And just close your eyes. It's a short Shavasana, so some of you might prefer to be seated. Some of you will prefer to lie down. Closing your eyes once you're there, whichever shape you come to, and just reconnecting to the breath, to yourself, to your mood, your energy. And those of you lying down, just slowly hug the knees back into center. Take a moment to roll over to your right side, pushing the ground away from you with your hands to bring you up to a seat. Spine long, good posture, front body and back body in balance. Just notice how you feel, a little more awakened, a little more energized. It's thought that when we work with our core, we're building our willpower, self-confidence, little fire in the belly for the rest of the day. Let's bring our hands together at heart center, bowing our head to our hands in gratitude for the practice, in gratitude for our health. Namaste.